When you think of military alliances, one name dominates: NATO, with over 30 countries and the power to shake the world. But what if I told you that halfway across the globe, there's an alliance so small, so unusual, that most people have never even heard of it? Yet, in the wrong crisis, it could decide the fate of the entire Indo-Pacific, and even drag superpowers into war. This is the story of the Five Power Defense Arrangements, the smallest military alliance you've never heard of, and why it still matters today. The Five Power Defense Arrangements, or FPDA, was born in 1971, during the Cold War. It brings together just 5 countries: the United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand, Malaysia, and Singapore. At first glance, it looks tiny. No America, no NATO, not even a binding promise to fight. Instead, it's a consultative pact, meaning if Malaysia or Singapore are attacked, the 5 members agree to immediately consult each other on what to do next. Sounds weak, right? But in geopolitics, even a promise to talk can shape how enemies behave. And that's exactly why the FPDA has lasted for more than 50 years. To understand why it exists, we need to rewind to the end of the British Empire. In the late 1960s, Britain announced it was pulling back its forces east of Suez. That left its former colonies, Malaysia and Singapore, dangerously exposed. The Cold War was raging. Communist insurgencies threatened Southeast Asia. The Vietnam War was escalating. So Britain, together with Australia and New Zealand, signed on to help defend Malaysia and Singapore. The FPDA was essentially a safety net, a way of saying, you're not alone. Unlike NATO, the FPDA has no central command, no permanent bases, no ironclad Article 5 that says, an attack on one is an attack on all. Instead, it works through joint military exercises, intelligence sharing, and regular meetings. Every year, FPDA members conduct massive air and naval drills around the Malacca Strait and the South China Sea, some of the busiest trade routes on the planet. These drills send a message. Even though it's small, the alliance is still watching, still ready. For Singapore and Malaysia, this provides reassurance. For outside powers, especially China, it's a reminder that Southeast Asia is not defenseless. So why should you, sitting in America, care about a 5-country pact on the other side of the world? Here's why. Location. The FPDA sits right on top of the Strait of Malacca, one of the world's most important choke points. Nearly 40% of global trade passes through here, including vital oil shipments headed to Japan, South Korea, and yes, China. If this region ever collapsed into war, the ripple effects would hit the US economy almost instantly, from higher fuel prices to broken supply chains. And here's the kicker. The FPDA includes 2 close US allies, Australia and the UK. So while America isn't formally part of this alliance, in a real crisis, the US could easily be pulled in. On paper, the FPDA looks insignificant: 5 members, no binding pledge, half a century old. But history shows that it's often the smallest alliances that spark the biggest wars. Think back to 1914. A chain of small defense agreements dragged the entire world into World War I. The FPDA may never be tested. But if conflict erupts in the South China Sea, or over Taiwan, or in the Strait of Malacca, these 5 nations could suddenly find themselves on the front lines of a global storm. We tend to focus on the giants: NATO, China, Russia. But power doesn't only sit with the big players. Sometimes it's the quiet, little-known pacts that hold the keys to peace or war. The 5 Power Defense Arrangements is a perfect reminder of that. So the next time you hear about Southeast Asia, don't just think about China or the US Navy. Remember the 5 nations quietly standing guard over the world's most important waters. Because in geopolitics, size isn't everything sometimes. The smallest alliance can make the biggest difference.